right, we are officially on YouTube. We're going live on Twitch.
Hey, YouTube.
Hey.
There you go.
Hey, y'all.
Wow, that needs to be the way that you introduce the show every time now.
Just every
Hey,
time.
y'all, welcome to the Magic Mics.
It's
I'm
like
Mr. Avon Irwin.
we're just down there.
I'll be your debutante this evening.
I'll be your Huckleberry.
You are the southerniest belle.
That's right.
Oh my god.
All right, here we go.
I'll be your Huckleberry. Jesus.
Someone
So
has
good.
not watched Tombstone, or someone has, and
Of course I have.
we're having a cool moment.
I'm in
Excellent.
love with.
Good.
I'm suddenly enamored with you.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition. We're going to start that again. Hello, everybody. Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics. I am Evan Irwin, and we begin as we do each and every single week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Aaron Campbell,
Dobry Den.
Ruben Bressler.
What she said. What language was that one?
That was Czech. That was from the Czech Republic. That is how they say hello in the Czech Republic.
I see.
Excellent.
Okay. Well, we have a schedule update next week. Next update, we're going to be shifted one day. We're going to be on Thursday night instead of Wednesday night because Ruben, when did you book your flight?
So I'm not the smartest man. What I did was I booked my flight during the normal Wednesday show. So I will be flying from Las Vegas, Nevada back to Columbus, Ohio to go fetch my car because I need my car, and my title finally came in. So I will be driving cross country.
Wow.
Later in the weekend there. But I will be flying. I'm sorry, I didn't realize. Look, the flight was super cheap on Frontier Airlines, and I just needed to.
Okay, that's your punishment right there. For making us miss the show, you get to fly on Frontier.
Mm-hmm.
Look, man, it's
That's
Frontier
what
is
you
an
get.
experience. Look, if you need to get to point A to point B, and you don't need like seat cushioning or room or a beverage, Frontier Airlines is where you want to be. What they can do is they can put you on an airplane, they can put you in a metal tube and send you to where you want to go. That is what they can do.
They can put you on a flying bus. That
And
bus
at least
will
it's not
fly.
Spirit. I would imagine Frontier is a
It's not,
little
it's
better.
not. It's not even a bus. Buses have seat cushions. Frontier, they just have erector sets. Like what they've done is they've built their chairs out of literal, like, you know how your friend that's super nerdy has the 3D printer? What they did was they 3D printed seats. And they have there's nothing else. It's just that. So if you just need to get from point A to point B, this little stick of gum will get you there. But I mean, I assume a strong gust of wind is going to delay me half an hour. But anyway,
It's funny that you
my
mentioned
flight,
Frontier, though. Because... Oh, you cut out there. I thought you were done. I'm sorry.
oh, sorry. No, you're good. Go on.
No, I was just going to say, it's funny you mentioned Frontier because now that I think about it, I think Frontier was the airline that Wizards put me on when they flew me to the Community Cup.
Right.
So, yeah.
Really?
It's also Evan's least favorite airline because he thinks it's an airline with no player base. He thinks it's an airline.
Wow.
Right?
Okay, first of all,
So anyway,
quick
That was
update
good.
for you guys following along at home. So, Cool Stuff Games, which is the stores of CoolStuffInc.com, which we have 5, has been running Frontier events. However, there was a lot of interest at first, but it has been petering out, and one didn't even fire. And so, whereas you had some people interested, and then they kind of was like, all right, no, whatever. And then the new standard showed up, and I'm guessing people are a lot more excited now that things are banned and people can play it. But that is a real world example of it's really exciting at the beginning, and it has waned, much like a fad. Anyway, so
anyway,
we get started with next week, Thursday.
yeah,
we'll see you guys live here, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard, just one day off, okay?
Right, Thursday instead of Wednesday. Yeah.
So let's get started officially with the show with our first pick. Our first pick of this week is the Magic Online State-of-the-Program. Now, the State of Magic Online was a hinted thing that I want to say Worth had said something about before he left Wizards. But I had read something about it coming out at a certain time. It didn't come out at that time. silence, nothing. I start to see these little, like, these things pop up where people are like, I'm selling on my collection and I don't want to be on Magic Online anymore. MTGO Traders is buying tickets for 90 cents a piece, which is incredibly low for that type of market. Right. Normally they buy anywhere from 95 to 98 cents. Well, 95, 97, but regardless. The point is that low amount is enough to make you go, what's happening? And basically there's been like another huge amount of sell-offs. Like there were sell-offs when the treasure chest showed up, and there's sell-offs now because the longer we go, the further we march towards Magic Digital next, the more things we see written on the wall. It starts to get more clear for those who are really invested in Magic Online. Like for businesses that rely on Magic Online, I can imagine it's pretty nerve-wracking to be in their shoes right now, to try to navigate what in the world Wizards wants to or doesn't want to do with Magic Online. However, in the Magic Online State of the Program, they talk about how they added treasure chests, which is great. They talked about leagues. Leagues are fantastic. I wish they'd had them years ago, but hey, we had them. They had the Make Your Own Cube contest. That was totally sweet. Congratulations, Wizards. You did a good job there. However, and then the best thing to come out of this. Now, Wizards, look, we're hard on them because we love them, but you guys killed it with the idea that I can play Amonkhet on the Monday after pre-release on Magic Online. That was a good idea. Finally.
Yeah.
You remember we used to have to wait like a month? You used to have to wait a month to get a set on Magic Online. Because way back in the day, I think it was Judgment somehow got accidentally spoiled via Magic Online, and then everybody lost their mind, and Magic Online didn't get sets, new sets for a month out for years and years and years and years. So that is changing. That is fantastic. I'm super excited about it. That's great. And he kind of ends here with our president, Chris Cox, announced that Magic Online has become part of the Wizards' new digital game studio led by Jeffrey Stiefel. I think that's how you say that, Steefel, or Steffel. And he kind
Stifle.
he stops the triggered ability. Either way, he writes a little bit of some of the most corporate speak, drenched in PR firm, like it's went through multiple layers of people to make sure it is the most vanilla, tasteless, kind of void of information announcement it could be. He's just like, hey, I'm here, we're doing some cool stuff, we'll see you guys later, and that's pretty much it. Okay. And then at the end, they announced that Worth is gone, and you can blame Worth one more time with Amonkhet and all that good stuff. So it's kind of funny. But Wizards. So the State of the Program happens. Magic Online is happening, and we're doing great, and here's this new guy and whatever. And then, so I'm at the dentist when all this stuff happens the other day, and I see this tweet from Elaine Chase. And Elaine, we know Elaine, and we've talked about it a little bit before. Elaine, when things get bad, you break the glass. Elaine comes out, drops the hammer, goes back, slams the door behind her because she's pissed off that you bothered her because she's got things to do.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. She's just, you idiots. We're not doing anything to Magic Online. Slam.
Yeah.
So anyway,
she's the brand person, right? Like she's the one that protects the shield.
I believe she's
so like when something, right? Isn't that what it is? Is she's just like, listen, everybody, shut the whatever up because it's a family show, and everybody chill out. Nothing's dying, and everybody stop skateboarding on the sidewalks. And then she closes her door and goes back to sleep. Like, right. I don't understand.
That's how it works. So, her tweet in particular, and I brought it up here on the screen, says, we expect to keep MTGO running for the foreseeable future and have no plans or no current plans to decommission it or stop content releases, #WotC staff. First of all, I thanked Elaine. I really appreciate it. Look, when we break the Elaine glass, that's important.
Yeah,
Elaine comes out, drops some hammers, it's great. However, that is nowhere in the official State of the Program. That needs to be even if you retcon it right now, even if you go to magic.com or whatever, fix it in the article, just embed the tweet. You know what I'm saying? Just let people know, because this is important. People are losing confidence that Magic Online is going to be what we know of it, the value of the cards in it that we know of, years from now. And you got this new guy and you got this new digital studio and you got all these things that are showing that digital CCGs, like Hearthstone-esque CCGs, are making a ton of money. And wouldn't Wizards like to have some of it? And
hashtag Hearthstone money.
Yeah, get
We
that
gotta
Hearthstone
book that
money.
one also.
That's right.
That's an early favorite for hashtag of the year for next year's Mikesies is hashtag dat Hearthstone money.
That's right.
It's pretty good.
We'll save that one for later.
So before
yeah.
we go any further, tell what do you guys think about the current Magic Online announcements, where Magic Online seems to be going, and your response to these things?
Hey, look, I am not a person who plays Magic Online. That is not a thing I do. So if you want a Magic the Gathering online digital objects insider, you're going to have to talk to Twitch.tv legendary streamer Aaron Campbell once I'm done yammering.
Wow. Legendary.
But I'm a white male in America, so I'll talk about things I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Oh man, perfect.
I think that
Oh my God.
I think that it was super weird that first of all, Huffington Post, Vox, all of the, BuzzFeed are always are like, we published this article and then 3 hours later some new stuff came to light and now that's also in the article. Like that's 100% a thing they should do and say, just by the way, we're not deleting this. It's going to stay for the time being, especially when it comes from on high, when it comes from Elaine Chase,
Right.
who's in the top 5 of people who are in charge of everything having to do with Magic the Gathering, I would assume. I don't know how the structure works, but she's pretty high up
there.
And she's been there forever, and she has a very unique position there in that we don't say stuff like this when just anybody tweets, right? When Elaine Chase says something, everybody adjusts their glasses and pulls out their ear horn to make sure that they're listening correct, and they also live in 1870 apparently. But but it's just we make fun of Magic Online so much on this show. It's really difficult to do it when they have a state of the program. And we're like, but we've been doing a state of the program on Magic Online, us, the three of us, every week for the last year and a half. So that's kind of weird to me.
It's rough. It's rough.
So there are some good things, and I'm glad that they, now on the flip side of that, I'm glad that they actually have a view from the inside and that they're letting us know, look, this is a change we're doing. I was very touched by the thing where you can hashtag blame Worth one more time. Chris Carrots has always been a nice boy, very docile. Seems like he knows what he's doing.
Very docile.
He's
a
quite
mensch. He's a mensch.
Docile's a good word. In any case, I like that they keep in touch with us on this stuff, but
Sure.
Again, this is more corporate speak that nothing was really said.
The thing that was said was the releasing the sets early, which I appreciate. Everything else was raw, high fives, incredibly clean.
And then there are like friendly drafts, right? Like one-off.
Like literally
Wasn't that
one
something
game.
you're adding?
One game leagues, yes.
Right.
One game draft leagues, which is kind of insane. But it's insane for Magic, because when I was over here screaming about, please, I don't care who my opponents are in draft, just let me draft and play when I want. That was crazy. That was wild. But one game draft, quote unquote, is basically the exact way that you play a Hearthstone or a Elder Scrolls Legends or whatever. But Aaron, having been in Magic Online, playing it, streaming it, doing it, making it happen. So for someone that actually has a lot of value in Magic Online, now I've sold out of Magic Online a couple times. Like basically all my value is more or less gone. That's why I play a lot of Pauper there, or I just play limited. But Aaron, you have an actual collection of some amount. And I know you do borrow. But what is your confidence right now that those cards will maintain value, that Wizards is going to keep making sets, and that Magic Online is going to be here for the foreseeable?
Well, I have to be completely honest. That hasn't really been something that's been on my radar lately. The one thing that really did stand out to me about the state of the program is, you brought up a really good point, Evan, in that you said you just wanted to be able to draft whenever you wanted to, and you didn't necessarily care if it was with people in your pod, as long as you were able to do it whenever you wanted to. Time was really a factor for you. And I've been playing a lot more Vintage lately, and if I understand correctly, Vintage is the only format that you have to play a 4-round daily event. You can't just play Vintage whenever you want. You can do like the 2-person. Is that wrong?
Right. You can do the 2-player queues.
But like,
Sure.
if you can't just do it. You don't have the luxury of a league where you can do a round here and there or whenever you have time. You are stuck playing whenever the daily event happens, and that keeps a lot of people away from Vintage, quite frankly. I just recently subscribed to the Mana Drain boards, which if you're into Vintage, you should sign up for those. And we're actually going to talk about a topic that I found there later. But one of the things that people keep bringing up is that I can't make these times, and the times change every day. So like on Tuesday for me, it starts at 7 p.m. Central Time, and then on Wednesday I think it starts at like 8:30, and so it's really inconsistent. And so them mentioning that there's the possibility of Vintage leagues was fantastic news for me. I know there were other Vintage players that were really excited. I played in the Power 9 challenge the other day, and while we're on the subject, in this State of the Program, there's a big picture of Walking Ballista. There were 16 copies of that card in the top 8 of the Power 9 challenge. Like, Walking Ballista is real. It has replaced Triskelion. There was a lot of talk of it maybe being like Triskelion 5 and oh no. It's replaced Triskelion. Like,
because
it is
it's so
card.
good. On turn 1, you can power that thing out and kill a Delver or whatever, right? Like, it gives you some amount of flexibility. Workshop.
This card has been, the people who play Vintage Dredge are saying that this is the reason you don't want to run Bridge from Below anymore. It is just having huge, immediate impact on Vintage. And so I was really interested. I was really excited to see the possibility of Vintage leagues, which is something we've clamored for a while. I was really impressed with everything that I saw here for the most part. I've always sort of defended Magic Online. Like, in my experience, I haven't experienced a lot of the bugs that other people have. I haven't experienced the the disconnects and things. I'm not saying they didn't happen, but my experience has been pretty positive. And so I also know quite a few people who work on staff, and so I tend to be a little more optimistic than most. So I wasn't freaking out as much as some people were, but I can see the reasons why they were. And I think the thing I like about this is it shows that they're trying. We are seeing them bring in some big names. We are seeing the resumes of these people, them listing off the other
the projects
names. Right. And so,
right.
It seems like they're really trying. And so I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt, and I'm anxious to see what happens.
Sure.
That's something that I really appreciate. I think that this is probably a directive directly from Chris Cox when he came in, because that's when I noticed the changes to the communication style with folks change. Was when he came in, we've had a lot more of these direct from the top announcements of, look, we're trying to do this thing. We've heard you. Here's what we're doing as a result. And I really appreciate whether it's a new outlook or whether it's a directive from Chris Cox coming in. It's a real breath of fresh air compared to sometimes in the past we haven't had that transparency. Sure. And so we were left wondering, well, what are we, what's next? We're sort of on bad footing, but shedding more light, getting more information, having more State of the Program kind of content is really refreshing.
Well, speaking of more information, VentureBeat.com ran an article based on the research firm of Superdata. Now, before we begin, let's take all this with a grain of salt, okay? What Superdata has done a report on the digital card games market, which is expected to earn $1.4 billion this year. Hearthstone leads the field. Now, again, this is based on their research. These companies are not releasing numbers. Hearthstone does not have a paper element. Hearthstone did not begin 20-something years ago. Hearthstone does not help hobby stores. They do not print things. They do not make pre-releases. I mean, all this stuff. There is a whole ton of factors here. So that's why I want everyone to remember this isn't like gospel. They have the exact information. However, what they did gather and what they have reported is that Hearthstone basically makes about $1 million a day. That's a lot. The number 2 game I literally had never heard of.
Me neither.
Called Shadowverse. Shadowverse it looks very similar to Hearthstone. Shocker.
Yeah.
And it's number 2. Number 3 is WWE Supercard, which I actually have played.
Perfect.
I kind of enjoyed it. It's kind of silly, dumb fun. I certainly don't understand why it makes $24 million a year.
Because wrestling is great, I guess.
Which is fine. However, Magic the Gathering Online, which is only available for PC, they note, is number 5 with $20.6 million. That's about $56,000 a day. Again, Hearthstone, $1 million a day. So, again, not a paper element. Blizzard isn't Hasbro. Hasbro's not Blizzard. These are different games. I get it. However, that Hearthstone money, though. $1 million a day. I don't care if you're off by an order of magnitude, you still want Hearthstone money. Don't care. You could be off by 2x or 3x. Doesn't matter. You ain't making $1 million a day now, are ya? Because when you do, it's all sunshine and lollipops, and when you don't, it's all of a sudden we got new digital studios and all sorts of people coming in, and a brand new CEO who comes from Microsoft and all that good stuff. So whatever Magic Digital Next is bringing us, I 100% feel like Magic Online, as we know it, won't exist in its form. Now, it very well may. I very well be 100% wrong. I'm happy to be wrong. But as I've said many times, I feel like Magic Online is going to get a sunset period of no more sets or it's going to, and this could actually affect the paper game. Again, who knows how much paper's making? Who knows how much paper's in the middle of all this versus, again, that Hearthstone money.
Right.
There's a possibility that Magic Digital Next becomes what Wizards wants to do. All of their focus, all of their marketing, all of their R&D. If they put Rosewater and Lauer on Magic Digital Next, I 100% believe that the paper game could be in not in peril, more like just sort of in question marks. I feel like that's the part where you reach where maybe it's just supplemental sets, maybe it's just conspiracy sets, maybe it's just commander decks, maybe it's just anthologies. Whatever. Or maybe I'm just 100% wrong. We got Magic Online all the time. High five. So, right. Ruben, we'll start with yourself. Tell me what you sort of gleaned from this VentureBeat article, and what do you think that sort of it affects Magic Online moving forward?
So there's a lot of interesting little tidbits in this article about Super Data. First of all, $1.4 billion in the industry total is a huge amount of money just for gaming in general. And the fact that Hearthstone has so much of the market share, it says that they're first at almost 400 million, and then the next four combined are like not even there yet, right? It's the second place is Shadowverse, which makes 100 million, just over. And then third place, I found super interesting, is only available as a mobile game. The WWE Supercard game is a Steam game, if I'm reading this correctly.
Sure.
The other ones are available on Steam with Shadowverse and Hearthstone, but Supercard is only mobile.
Yes.
And so we've seen a couple of games, things like, I think that there's a Clash of Clans Titans is the card variant. We've seen things come and go, like Skylanders, I think, had a card variant that was very similar to this as well. So it seems like it's a growing space. People are trying to get in and follow Hearthstone and follow Magic Online, which, by the way, it notes in the article, quote, which is only available for PC, which I found a really funny little tidbit.
They know when other things are only available on certain, platforms.
Yeah, so. And I just thought it was a funny thing to include. The fact that VentureBeat is coming at this from way outside the Magic community.
Right.
It was just a funny little note to add there. The last two paragraphs of this article, Superdata noted that 7.6% of digital card game players in the United States buy in-game content. 7.6 buy in-game content. The rest are free to play. Right? Hearthstone's a free-to-play game. So only 7 points, that's really a small number, considering that, I don't think that there's anyone who only plays Magic Online for free. Like, that's not a thing you can do, right? Like, you'd have to win a bunch of the introductory league drafts and then build up a collection. The only person I've ever heard of say that they never had to give their credit card information to Magic the Gathering Online is Adam Prozac. He's very proud of that. He was like, I signed up right at the beginning. They gave you a couple free drafts, and I built it all up from there. So I think that it's just a completely different animal when you're talking about Magic Online. The last thing was 86% of digital card game players watch online videos of other players playing digital card games, which I don't know what the translation of people who, people that play Overwatch and also watch Overwatch content, or play Battlefield and watch Battlefield content, or what the translation is, but that seems like an astronomically high number. 86% of people that play Magic Online or Shadowverse or WWE or Hearthstone watch other people do it as well. And so that has a lot of implications for Twitch, which, is is where Magic is trying to build up its online presence in terms of advertising and television. So
Sure.
there's a lot of interesting things happening in this article.
All right, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. Aaron, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Ruben said. I also was kind of focused on the last two statistics. So Ruben says that 7.6% of those players are actually paying for content. So if you do the math on that, so like let's say there's 20 million people who are playing Hearthstone right now, that's only 1.6 million who've actually spent money. That's a lot of people that if you aim your marketing at them, or if you come up with something that they want, I mean, this is a lot of money to begin with, but this is a lot of money coming from just 1.6 million people. If you can turn the rest of those 18 million people onto your product, I mean, that's an astronomical amount of money that you can make there. There's so many doors that you could open if you just give them the right product. So there's a lot of untapped potential there. And I also was really impressed with the 86% figure. One of the things I was really struck by when I started streaming is how many people only watch streams. Not to toot my own horn, but I've been in the community for quite a while, and there were several people that know streamers, like they know streamers, but if you ask them who Emma was, or if you ask them who Jadine was, they really didn't know, because they don't really follow the blogs. They may not necessarily follow the scene, but they know who Jamie Topples is, who's a streamer. They knew who Elantris was. They knew her, who Kibler was. They only know that sphere. And so if you are able to start streaming, you really can open yourself up to a really wide audience who might have never heard of you, even if you've been on the scene for a while. And so there's just a lot of opportunity there. It's, if you have the potential to stream, I really think you should. There's a lot of opportunity, especially if you play a really obscure deck like I tend to, and I think Ruben does too. There are so many people that want to see that deck in action. They want to learn from you. And so I really think that statistic is telling people that if you have the means to stream, there's a huge market out there. It doesn't matter how good you are necessarily. People just want to watch. And that's that's an untapped market that we should look into.
So moving on here, Wizards also released sort of their state of the coverage in 2017. Greg Collins posted this today, and he talks a little bit about the live event coverage started in 2012 when they actually started doing all 3 days of competition, which was, I think honestly a little overdue, but we say that about a lot of Wizards changes. But either way, we're back to what I think, and what I've been told on Twitter at least, was the 2015 levels of having 40 events streamed a year. And that's, the Pro Tour and the Magic World Championship and the World Magic Cup, 32 Grand Prix, the Magic Online Championships, and the Super Sunday Series Championship, which is now behind us, and I really appreciate that because, anyway. but here's the funny part. So here is where I think we've officially seen a really interesting handoff. It feels like this is a handoff where Twitch is kind of running the show, where, for example, one of the first things it talks about is we're launching subscriptions for the Magic channel on Twitch. Well, when they subscribe, you get their emoticons, which for what it's worth, they kind of have amazing emoticons, which I really like. Yeah, which are super great. So kudos on that. They chose some great pieces of artwork. I hope they would be able to with Magic's ridiculous catalog, but either way, they did, and that's great. So now we're talking about, trying to figure out what those subscribers should do and what they should get. And now it's like, well, maybe there's subscriber mode Q&As, or there's the ability to talk with pros or commentators on the, and a subscriber only chat while the Pro Tour is happening. You'll get you'll get a different badge next to your name based on how long that you've subscribed and whatnot. And do remember, if you pay for Amazon Prime, you can actually subscribe to one channel per month for free,
right? Which
is nice and very cool. And then it kind of says like, well, we've come a long way, and we used to do this crappy stream, and now we do better streams. Okay. And then it talks about the complete streaming schedule, which is great. And then it kind of ends. It doesn't say anything about commentators. Doesn't say anything about who's going to be at the Pro Tour. Doesn't say anything about any special content that they want to make, any special content that they used to make that they don't make anymore. I think if you see sort of long term, there's no more Walk the Plains, because maybe that just wasn't in the cards. Maybe they just didn't want to plan for that moving forward, which is, of course, their prerogative. Totally okay. Ideally, and just like all things, we want Magic to succeed. We want Magic to do well, and maybe these types of changes are what's necessary, where Twitch can kind of like, well, maybe you should do the subscriber stuff, you should do the emoticon stuff, kind of get into more of the culture of streaming, rather than kind of treat it as like a weird television station, which is kind of what I feel Wizards has treated it like. It's like it's a broadcast medium we don't really interact with people. Yeah, you can subscribe, but who cares? It's really just a way for us to show a thing. And that's what it felt like when they were streaming to Twitch and YouTube. You know what I mean? They're just different screens that go to different people. And now I think Twitch is taking it to a point where it's like, let's interact with people. Let's make something that they can pay for, but also get something back out of, and make it more of an interactive experience. So Aaron, how do you feel about this article and the Twitch stuff?
I think it's a good thing. You know, the one thing that stood out to me here is at the bottom of this article, the Twitch and You article, they mentioned the coverage for GP Vegas, and they say that the coverage is going to focus on the legacy and modern events, but will also include some coverage of the limited Grand Prix. And I know a lot of us were sore that there wasn't any coverage at GP Louisville, considering that I think Louisville and Vegas are it. I think those are our only legacy GPs in the U.S.
You get like 2 a year, yeah.
Yeah, and so I think, you know, with them passing on Louisville, this is a really big opportunity for us to see legacy on camera. So that was a really good thing. I was a little concerned that they didn't mention who was going to be covering these things because, you know, if they are giving more of the reins to Twitch, you have to wonder if maybe Twitch maybe has their own people, or if they are going to choose, or how that relationship's going to go. I think that's really fascinating. I also really enjoyed, there was a VentureBeat article, and they interviewed Helene for this. And Helene put a lot of emphasis on Twitch chat because we've covered that there have been some problems with Twitch chat in the past, and they mentioned the Hearthstone event in Texas where there was a black man on camera and chat got really, really racist. And Helene basically says that we agree that we're going to police chat. We want to partner to work together to make Twitch a nice place for people to interact. And she does this whole thing about how they have a full moderation team and they're really going to be on it. And that was one of my concerns when I saw that they were partnering with Twitch was, oh Lord, we're going to have like the full-on Twitch chat. And it sounds like she's saying that the moderators are committed to making sure it stays clean and it's a good place to interact. So I'm fine with that.
Right. And they also have an auto mod thing, which is nice as well.
Which is a great feature.
Right, which they have tools. Now, I would note that video coverage of Vegas will focus on legacy and modern. Twitch, it's totally okay if you don't show us any of the limited. No one cares. No one cares. I promise. I just don't give a crap.
No one cares.
I don't want to know.
Now, here's the thing. No one cares about limited, but if the players are interesting, then sure, play limited. Like if it's Reed against Owen,
right?
Then sure.
If it's Finkel versus Kai, show me limited. Yeah. Otherwise, I really don't give a crap.
Really don't care. Exactly.
I don't even care if it's the finals. Who cares? I mean, okay, you drafted a good deck, Joey McAnderson. Like, sure. I mean, it's fine. So, Ruben, how do you feel about this announcement?
There's a lot of, this is a meaty article. I thought that this one was much more informative than the previous state of whatever article that we were talking about. I thought that there was a lot of interesting things happening here. So turning a channel from, I mean, you guys all know this, especially you folks who are on Twitch right now, I'm sure a lot of you are subscribed to channels.
Thank you.
A subscription channel has a lot more tools available to it than a non-subscription channel. It's one of the main reasons why you want to be a partner with Twitch. Being able to turn on subscriptions, being able to force those people who would troll your stream to at least pay $5 a month to troll your stream is a powerful tool. In addition to the fact that this is another tangible step towards esports. We were in this sort of weird, like you said, weird television channel middle ground where everyone in charge remembers the days when we were on ESPN2, and then we're trying to relive those, glory days instead of moving into the future and getting the Twitch emotes and getting the sub badges and being able to have the private chat stuff. This is a big deal for a whole bunch of reasons, not the least of which is that we're a real boy now. We've turned from. It's sort of weird that it took this long. I mean, they saw SCG do it, and with SCG taking a step back, it makes a lot more sense that Twitch is stepping into that vacancy, picking up where Wizards left off 2 years ago in 2015. They basically doubled their television schedule. So I think that this is all positive. I see no negatives with the changes at all. I think that one of the most interesting things, we've talked about before how YouTube, you used to be able to rewatch immediately, and not only that, but you could play it at 1.5 or 2x speed to be able to catch up on coverage. You can't do that on Twitch. And if they're going to move to a subscription model, it's possible that they're going to move to a subscription model where non-subs don't get to watch past videos. A lot of channels do stuff like that. For example, the D&D show that I watch, Critical Role, Geek and Sundry doesn't let you watch Twitch videos immediately unless you're a subscriber. So there are some other interesting things that you can do with that to be able to get more income. And hopefully all of the income that they get, by the way, I'm hoping that this entire revenue stream is going to coverage improvement. Like I would be really upset if they took money away from this and then just like sort of left coverage where it was. Which would be pretty.
Sure. I mean, and I would note that for the SEG thing, I don't think correlation is not causation. Sure. I don't know. I certainly don't feel like Twitch was making decisions based on what SEG was doing. I would note that it is fantastic that where one goes down, the other one's going up, and that is terrific and good for everybody.
I do want to add something if we can. There was something else I really enjoyed about the VentureBeat article. So they mentioned that Magic is interested in doing a So You Think You Can Cast project for Blizzard, which is also something they've apparently done for Hearthstone, where the community can essentially audition for caster roles for live streaming events. And I know that there are several people in our community like Emma Handy who dream of being in coverage and
Oh dear.
Oh no.
Do you still have me?
I still have you. We should all do it.
Uh-oh. Well, in any case,
this looks like
she's muted.
Right. That's unfortunate because things are going to get weird if she drops out of the call. However, Erin's not just muted. I don't even think she's there. I don't see her moving. No. Yeah, she's gone.
Oh God. All right. Well, that's unfortunate.
This did.
But yeah, to her point. To her point, I'll let you handle trying to get her back on Skype while I try to continue her point on the So You Think You Can Cast stuff. Wizards has done that the last Blizzard has done that the last 2 Januaries, I think, where they wanted to get additional casters for regional tournaments for Hearthstone. And other games have done this in the past as well. I will say I personally am 1 for 1 on winning commentator competitions when I won the Kaijudo commentary competition, the one they held.
Nice.
Although that was mostly because I had all of my Magic the Gathering friends vote in it, and so that was a little bit of insider. But in any case, I got a free trip to Dallas out of it.
Oh, that's nice.
But yeah, I think that it's great that they hold these So You Think You Can Cast events, because it is very difficult to break into commentary in gaming in general. You know, we get asked all the time, what's the best way to get involved in Magic content creation, in Magic commentary, in Magic article writing. And when I came in, it was a lot easier. There weren't nearly as many people. What you did was you wrote articles and you hoped you got noticed, or you were like one of the 3 people that made videos. And I was one of the 3 people that made videos. Evan was one of the other ones, and so somebody hired me. And it's pretty difficult now because there's so many channels that are making YouTube content and doing Twitch streams and making little snippet videos, and it's very difficult. Not to mention the fact that Magic used to be the only game in its neighborhood. Now it's got, as we mentioned before, it's got a bunch of other games like Hearthstone and the Epic card game and the Pokemon Online game that we talked about last week. So it's there's a lot of things at play there. But the bottom line is that it's good that Magic is asking people to apply, because it shows if people apply, it shows that they want to do it. And if they happen to find somebody great, then they have a homegrown, grassroots talent that they can take advantage of for future events.
Right. There isn't that was an issue for commentary for Magic. Period. Is that there is no farm league. Like when I started SCG Live, it was like, well, I'm pretty sure these guys are going to be good at it, and like you hit that lightning in the bottle with Cedric and Patrick, and you're just like, whoa, now this, right. You know what I mean? Like, because when that happened, it was absolutely, everyone was just buzzing about how amazing it was. Now, Aaron, first of all, welcome back.
Sorry about that. My internet crapped out.
That's what I suspected, unfortunately. But you did pop right back, which is appreciated. And Ruben kind of took the baton and ran with it there.
I do want to add something, though. You mentioned the homegrown aspect, and when I see that we're still talking about the people auditioning for caster roles, and I think it's also really great that they're remaining open to feedback. Like, you know, what we joked about how when they had the coverage summit and how they purposely didn't invite certain people to participate that maybe could have had, you know, some good advice for them or could have given them some good feedback, you know. And for a while there, you know, there was sort of that nepotism, for lack of a better word, where it's like we were seeing people in coverage that had sort of been grandfathered in, where people are going, well, you're not the best at this, but you've been here forever, and does that necessarily mean you should be doing this? And so, you know, I do like that they're opening the floor to other talent, to fresh talent, that they're not simply using the excuse of, well, this person's been here for years. Are they really good? Not necessarily. You know, they are remaining open to outside feedback and to fresh faces, and not just simply sticking with these choices that maybe have just, you know, been there forever.
Yeah, I would describe that as the old boys club, as they say.
Yeah.
However, we got to move on to Gather the Townsfolk. There was an interesting thread today, I think it was today, that showed up, correct, for Nicol Bolas and Amonkhet. Now, this is speculated, apparently, by Liliana. However, what she speculates is that Amonkhet was created by Nicol Bolas before, I think it's what they call the mending, basically.
Yeah.
Planeswalkers used to be gods. Like, they used to be,
Basically,
like, freaky, crazy, ridiculous gods. I mean, like, literally just unstoppable. They can make worlds. The worlds would be artificial. This is where the Phyrexians came into play, and the Thran, and Yawgmoth was this insane dude. Like, here's how crazy it was. At one point, Yawgmoth puts a drill into a planeswalker's skull and just continues to run it so that they can't realize and figure out that they're being trapped and held against their will. That's the only way they could get them to stop being basically godlike, was to screw up their brains, that before their brains could regenerate, he's drilling into their head again. Crazy, ridiculous stuff. So planeswalkers basically had to be brought back down to Earth, and that's part of what, like, Nicol Bolas basically had Amonkhet left over. Mirrodin is much the same way. It's like, you know, that was an artificial plane that was created, and bad things started happening there. It implies that Amonkhet is also an artificial plane. So this is really interesting from, like, the Vorthosy, you know, story side of things. And I think Wizards is, and you can even see this over the past year, they've really, really tried hard to write good stories, to make the lore matter, to get people excited about stuff, to have essentially separate episodes of things that are happening, different arcs that are happening, versus just like one never-ending, long drawn-out thing that doesn't, you know, that's just kind of like, well, okay, here's a battle, and there's a battle, and there's a battle, and there's a battle. Instead, we're following, you know, the Justice League through the multiverse, and we're figuring out where things are coming from.
And this is the first time it seems like the Justice League is going to be fighting on away turf. If Liliana's right, and this was created by Nicol Bolas, then his 3 types of mana are going to be significantly stronger than the 2 types of mana that he doesn't use. So Nissa, who already has problems with Innistrad, is going to be useless, right? Ajani is going to be next to useless. Gideon is going to be hampered. You know, the folks that don't have the type of mana that they need to be able to fight, they aren't going to be able. This is going to be tough. It's like going into another dragon's lair, quite literally. But I was trying to do a D&D thing there, but it turns out we're actually going into a dragon's lair. But yeah, this is going to be rough. This is not going to be an easy one. I mean, you know, when you were fighting the Eldrazi in Zendikar, at least you had fuel. Right? You had the fuel to power your spells. When you were fighting against the Eldrazi and Innistrad, you know, most everybody had fuel and had home field. Some of them had home field advantage. You know, Sorin knew exactly what he was doing, and Liliana knew what she was doing and had plenty of zombie corpses laying around. But it's not going to be that way in Amonkhet. And so this seems like a dangerous situation for the non-superpowered, League of Extraordinary Planeswalkers.
Aaron?
I actually really enjoyed this thread. Normally on Reddit, threads come down to like squeezing out the most EV out of something, or, somebody's determined to be right. And, I really enjoyed this thread because people were just really kind of letting their theories run wild. And, everybody seemed to be giving everybody else the opportunity to have those thoughts of, what, that's a little silly, but I'll let you have this. And one of the things that really stuck out to me was there was a commenter that said, artificial planes are very unstable. They'll collapse sooner or later if left without a constant mana source or similar. Maybe Wizards indirectly told us what the Hour of Devastation is going to be about. If that's true and you need a constant mana source, if you take away whatever it is that's keeping that plane up and then the plane collapses, that's really interesting. And I think it also takes away, we've kind of talked about how they've been falling on this invasion trope where it's like, the first set of a block, it starts off with the pretty plane and by the end of the block we've destroyed the plane. And we've done that how many times? And usually we that's happened because of like an invader or like a actual enemy, like it was the dragons in Tarkir, it was the Phyrexians or whatever. But if this is just sort of a byproduct and the plane just happens to collapse, I think that's a really interesting way to still kind of screw up a plane, but without falling on like an obvious tangible threat of like, this is the baddie, kill the baddie and everything's fine. The plane just collapses. Like, I think that's a really interesting way to create conflict.
Yeah, I mean, and they ran this back in Urzus. That's how long it's been since they've ran sort of this artificial planes. Now, Mirrodin was created by Karn as an artificial plane, and all of that. But what I mean is, like, in terms of artificial planes being created by planeswalkers, artificial planes running out of time, Serra's Sanctum is in Serra's realm. Serra, the planeswalker, made Serra's realm, was in Serra's Sanctum, was later killed, and then the plane began to collapse because she wasn't there to basically keep it alive, as it were.
Yeah.
And the card, I believe it's Catastrophe, is literally that scene of everyone flipping out because the entire plane's beginning to destroy itself. So that's super interesting. I guess we'll see exactly what Wizards want to do with Amonkhet. Amonkhet's getting closer.
And Ruben, you said something about zombies, and you said it's not going to happen. Do you know why it's not going to happen? Because we're getting mummies.
But mummies are zombies.
Mummies, damn it.
So
zombies, give us mummies.
I think that Liliana's going to be fine. There's going to be plenty of black mana for her to be able to pull energy from. There's plenty of evil. There's plenty of ichor. There's plenty of corpses, even if they're mummified, for her to be able to do her stuff. But I mean, you look at the art book from the cover of the art book from Amonkhet. I did not see a ton of vegetation for Nissa to take advantage of. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
It was pretty dusty and cloudy. Gideon might have a little bit of a tough time. I don't know what the sunlight situation is, the sunlight of goodness and holiness in Amonkhet is. If Nicol Bolas is I don't know exactly how Gideon derives his energy, if he like charges up from the sun like Birdman.
Or Superman.
Or Superman. I went with Birdman because I watched a lot of Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law. Or if he gets it charged up from holiness, or godliness. If Nicol Bolas is the only god that this plane is aware of, he's going to have a tough time getting anything happening.
Well,
so I think that this is just setting up to be a bad trap situation for the Gatewatch.
And speaking of setups, if Nissa has a hard time with vegetation, she can always find comfort in Chandra's arms. Kiss, damn it! We want Chandra. We want Nissandra. We want Schnissa. Yes, make
Schnissa.
Schnissa. So don't get all schnissed off about it, all right. So, and from what I understand, Nicol Bolas actually created some gods on Amonkhet, and that's where the Egyptian type god stuff comes in. I don't know. It's part of me. There becomes a point where I go like, the Magic story is cool. Okay, that's an interesting take. All right, we've gone too far. We need to move on with our lives. All right, so up next is GP Prague. GP Prague happened this past weekend. Ruben, you had an interesting moniker for the Grand Prix. Yeah. Can you tell us all what that moniker was?
It was Fire Emoji.
For the viewers at home, we were actually just going to call the episode Fire Emojis, and Evan.
I really wanted it to happen. Yeah,
I had to nix that one, unfortunately. Ruben, tell us what happened at Prague.
Because you're a cranky old man who doesn't like goodness and awesome things. So anyway, what happened at Grand Prix Prague was Friday night before the GP. The site caught fire.
Wow.
The Grand Prix Prague site, there's a video of it on Reddit, on YouTube, and
scary.
It's not a small fire. Like this is a roaring. This is like if you were worried about your red mana situation, you got plenty of energy.
Wow.
Twitch
The real
chat's
life
on
combo
the
grade.
Twitch chat is right on board with the fire emoji. I'm really happy with everybody.
So what you're saying is that Prague was lit?
Prague was lit,
Where's
fam.
Emoji?
Prague was more, yeah, it's quite lit.
It was lit, fam.
But I will say, to the credit of the Prague Convention Center staff, the event went on without a hitch, from what I understand, and like started on time. There weren't any delays. There wasn't any smoke damage in the area where the players were at. This didn't affect play at all of the main event.
Yeah.
And so well done out of them. But man, I mean, we've seen events get delayed for less than this. I mean, we've also seen events get delayed because of otherworldly floods, right, Evan?
Right. Been there.
And then what was the other one that happened last year? There was another natural disaster of some kind that canceled an event. I'm forgetting what other.
Well, I mean, snow has canceled a Grand Prix a time or two.
Sure.
But either way, so kind of moving on further from GP Prague Fire Emoji, there was an interesting thread showed up on Reddit about cheating and how people noted that apparently, you know, like the coverage highlighted a pool that was completely ridiculous, and you're like, wow, how could you get a completely ridiculous pool like that? And you went in and looked, and it turns out the sleep-in special players were able to pick the people who sat across from them, or were sat across from people who they knew very well or signed up with, or some nature of that setup. Basically, they created a scenario where it was really easy to give the person across the table from you, like, hey buddy, sure would like you to make sure that there's no problem. There's 2 Pima Outriders in this, and a masterpiece hanger backwalker, for God's sake.
Right. The person that made
sundries.
the complaint thread, or I don't know if you'd call it a complaint thread, but yeah, the pool that the person lost to was, if you could pick the best 2 packs of the set and build it at home and bring it with you to the event site, this might be it. I have some experience of playing against people who have seeded their sealed pools in the past. There have been some big names who've been suspended in the past from seeding either pre-releases or PTQ pools. You know, and it's this has been a problem for a long time. And the fact that it was possible at a premier level event is not a good look.
Right, and so there was some commentary online, particularly a sort of a Twitter conversation that went back and forth with the tournament organizer. They noted this was a problem. This shouldn't have happened. They don't want it to happen in the future. You know, for me, clearly it was kind of awkward, the whole thing. You know, basically people chose the person sitting opposite of them, says on Twitter. And, you know, well, did you tell the TO? The TO shows up and says, I'm sorry for the bad experience. Due to the shift in halls, we had to rework our plan, which is understandable. Fire. However, some people noted that it was also a problem in London and or Stockholm. And so we got to fix this, guys. It's not okay. You can't. Now, look, this is one of those where, like, do I believe in the better angels of our nature or whatever?
Sure.
Absolutely. But you don't give people the in or the out, the ability to do this, because it leads to problems with people who are far shadier than your average bear. Aaron, any thoughts on GP Prague, Fire Emoji, and
I'm glad nobody was hurt. I feel bad for Helen. You know, Helen made a Facebook post and she was like, anytime I get to call at 3 a.m., it is never good. And I'm like, oh, God, poor Helen's probably like sleeping. You know that's not a good call. You know, that feeling of helplessness, you know, that you can't be there and you can't fix anything. And, you know, this is something that could have gone way worse. You know, like you said, first off, you know, people could have been hurt. You know, life is priority. And then second, you know, the events could have been sidelined, and it seems to have run pretty smoothly. So it's just we're fortunate that it all worked out.
Absolutely. So, you know, some people know, like, you know, you can pre-register pools and things. You know, if you get enough people together, you get enough judges thrown in enough card pools, you can get stuff pre-registered. I assure you, it is possible. However, we want to keep moving here to the Pro Tour draft. We have a Pro Tour this weekend. Pro Tour Ether Revolt is coming. Pro Tour.
It only took us 54 minutes to get to the Pro Tour.
Oh, man.
And we better have time for my topics. My Going Infinite is great.
Your Going Infinite is great. We should have time for it. However, what we're going to do, because we have our first official teams showing up at the Pro Tour.
Yep. All
right. So we got to stop for just a moment. Team Puzzle Quest. Now
Hey.
look.
Yeah, man.
Now look.
Hashtag branded content.
You
Hashtag
can't-
that Hearthstone money.
That's right. This is the Hearthstone money.
Hashtag Baywatch.
Yes.
Right.
So this
Watch
is
it.
like the Puzzle Quest team was the team that everybody was basically waiting on. It was like, okay, what's the name of that one? It's just the Pantheon team because we get Channel Fireball Fire and Dice and whatever. Like, no. It is team sponsored by branded brands, and it's just it's one of those things like you see it happening, and it's like you're like, okay, I guess this is where we're at, right? Because you can't sell out until somebody buys in, and boy, did they buy in big time, because wow, they've got the merch on them. They're talking about the brand. They're using the hashtag every time. Like this is where we are essentially going. Let's just
And that's where we should be. There's no reason
Absolutely.
we shouldn't have already been doing this. Like
It just cracks me up because we've never seen it before. This is something that is just totally alien to how professional, quote unquote, pro Magic players act. All of a sudden they're kind of tweeting this stuff, which feels, not artificial, but sponsored. And sometimes they mention that it's sponsored content, and that's okay too. It cracks me up. It amuses me to no end. However, our Pro Tour draft, we're going to pick one person and we're going to pick three individual players and one team.
So the way that we should do this is you can, when it's your turn to pick, you can either pick a player or a team. And then you have to have one team by the end.
Okay.
Right? How does
All
that
right.
sound?
And we'll put a link here, at least in Twitch chat, where I'm posting here, to Wizards' article where they go over the team rosters, which is nice, and you can take a look at sort of where you want to kind of put your people, and think about where they may or may not be. So, Aaron, let's start with yourself. What would you like to choose?
Reduke.
Hashtag Baywatch.
Hashtag Baywatch.
Hashtag Baywatch.
First pick, first pack. Redo. Okay.
Okay.
Who's next?
Ruben, you're up.
I mean, I really want to pick Lingering Souls because I named their team.
Nice.
When Shaheen was like, we need a team name, and I saw that it was Shaheen's team, I was just like, you just have to call yourself the Lingering Souls, right? But
Nice.
I'm gonna hashtag Puzzle Quest. I gotta pick the team first because I think that I know that's a bit of a stretch there because it's like spreading it out a lot further, and if they all miss, then I'm just screwed. But yeah, I mean, it's tough to beat that list of people. Like,
so I will take my
and
team.
it's also really close with another team. So I want to see if you guys pick up on that one.
Okay. Well,
Go ahead.
I will pick and support my buddy Mr. Nelson. I'm picking Team Genesis.
Okay.
Which, when they went back and said, if the team stuff had existed last year, they would have won.
It's a bold claim.
Yeah, I mean they have the Manimal, Seth Manfield, on their team.
Seth Manfield is an actual monster.
Yeah.
He destroys Japanese cities. It's crazy. So, Aaron, what would you like to choose?
Speaking of Japanese cities, glory, glory, hallelujah.
Yeah.
I will choose Haruya as my team.
That's a good choice.
Love
My team
it.
is
Saito,
my-
Shuhei.
Yeah, that's a tough one to beat. I was gonna pick Musashi, I think. Although Haruya is right up there.
I want to go one step further about Haruya. Their merchandise, everything they do is gold. The deck boxes, touch the box. It's soft. The sleeves are soft. The notepads. I've never seen a $2 notepad be so awesome. I can't tell you why it's awesome, but it is. Their playmats, $15. Just everything they do is out of the park. Just love them. Love them.
Well, I mean, and Saito was the guy who gave everyone the VIP experience.
Yes.
Okay, U.S. organizers, hello, it works. You're already trying to charge $100 for a sealed event. You got to stop that. You got to say, okay, we'll say $125 for everybody, and the event's going to be insane for like these 500 people. It's going to be the best time they ever had in their lives, or whatever.
And they also
1,000
have
people,
Jeremy
best time ever.
Dasani on their team. Did I ever tell you about my best memory of Jeremy Dasani?
What's that?
Okay, so Jeremy Dasani did a deck tech for the last Modern Pro Tour, and he was playing a Snapcaster deck, and I love the way that he says bounce, he says boons. So he was talking to BBD and he's like, you can bounce the Snapcaster. He's like, and then it bounces. And I must have replayed that clip like 30 times. So whenever I look at Yami Dasani, I just hear him saying bounce in my head and it just tickles me.
That is delightful.
Aaron or Ruben, who got next?
I'm gonna hedge my bets a little bit and pick somebody who's not already on my MTG mid card team. I'm picking Oliver 2. I think that he is a spectacular talent who hasn't reached his peak yet, and I think that I would like to root for him as well, and so that's why I want him on my team.
I see. Okay, so we have you have Team Puzzle Quest and Oliver 2.
And Oliver 2, who's on, by the way, Team Face to Face Games, which their lineup is stacked. I could have picked, Jacob Wilson, even Flock. I could have picked literally anybody on that team and been happy with it as my second round pick.
Aaron, you have hashtag Baywatch and Team Haruya.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So for me, it's weird that I want to choose somebody on the team that I chose.
Right, I know, right?
It's really
It's
strange
a really
to
weird,
me. It almost feels like I
dynamic.
shouldn't. Yeah, like it's
Weeds.
it's weird to do that. So I absolutely have to while he's available. I'm going to grab Mr. Owen Turtenwald.
Yeah.
Always a force to be reckoned with.
I had him on my last Pro Tour team, and I already had the team, so I didn't want to double dip.
Sure.
And his hair has been looking fantastic lately. Whatever you've
Yeah.
been doing, Owen, you keep that up.
There you go. Aaron, who's your next choice?
So my next pick is, again, biased. I actually know this young man. He's dating one of my friends. He gives fantastic hugs. You may not know that about him. Mr. David Ochoa. David is a delight. I know that he's been working really, really hard lately. I know that he really, really enjoys the team that he's on. He's just a sweet guy, Webb. And so I'm all for David Ochoa.
Very nice. Ruben?
Well, the fact that neither Channel Fireball Fire or Channel Fireball Ice was chosen as any of our teams is an outlier, and we're perhaps not playing correctly, but we're playing to our strengths. So I want to pick Paulo Vitor Dance Dance Revolution.
There we go.
As my choice for the round. He's on a team of players who could headline. And again, who I would be happy with as any of these people on my team. I'm gonna choose Paulo. He's had some excellent runs recently. He's had his teams that he's been on have figured out the formats a lot, and so I'm happy to pick Paulo.
So I'm gonna kind of run around here, and I'm gonna go to the name right next to Mr. Dance Dance Revolution. Mike Sigrist is a scarily good Magic player. You watch that man play Magic, it is ridiculous. He's just better than you are, and that's a thing. So
you also had to pick both Brad Nelson and also Brad Nelson.
Right. I get
That
all the
never
Nelsons.
gets old.
That's right.
It never gets old.
No.
That's right. So Aaron, what's your last choice?
So we've talked about a lot of really great players, a lot of scary good players, a lot of superhuman players, but you're going to bring up superhuman, you got to bring up Shota. Shota
Shota's amazing.
Life. Shota does not care what you're doing. Shota does what he wants to do. Built that deck the night before. What?
Yeah.
Of course he did.
Unflappable, that meme of him, the 50 faces of Shota, where he's just happy, sad, $10,000. Love everything about Shota. I love his low-key, petty answers when they ask him questions. I will never forget that one GP where they were like, what impressed you about your opponent's decks? And he goes, nothing. And just, he's just so quiet. I love everything about him, and I'm just, Shota's it.
Ruben?
There are a couple of people who are not on listed teams. So I want to go off the board a little bit, just in case one of the lone wolves does great. And when you think lone wolf, the champ is here. I want Sean McLaren on my
Sean
team.
McLaren.
Oh, Sean,
Right?
that feathered hair.
Wow. Now,
So-
he is the quintessential dude with his brother up in the middle of nowhere, Canada, just
Sure.
chilling out, building decks, breaking formats.
That's right.
Just what you
I
do.
want it. I will say that another person who's not listed is Kai. Kai is not on a team listed on this website. So it was close there, and literally anybody from the country of Japan I would have been happy with on my team. I think that Paul Cheon is a good pick as well. Would have liked to have been rooting for him, but I'm gonna go with the champ.
Wow. All right. So Gotta choose the final member of the team. Now, there's
you know
a man.
the greatest Magic player of all time is still available.
You literally knew that's what I was going to choose.
Sorry,
man. Why
I
you gotta
apologize.
steal all the thunder? Why you gotta see the thunder and be like, you know
So
what, thunder?
sorry.
That's my thunder. That thunder belongs over here. No. A man who needs no introduction. Johnny Magic, John Finkel. I will take Finkel as my last pick, which is a rare thing to say. Absolutely rare. All right, so those are our picks. I have chosen Team Genesis, Owen Turtenwald, Mike Sigrist, and John Finkel. Aaron, you have chose #Baywatch, also known as Reed Duke. Team Haruruya, David Ochoa, and Shota Yasoka. And Ruben, you have chosen Team Puzzle Quest, Oliver 2, Paulo Vitor, Dance Dance Revolution, and Mr. Sean McLaren. So we will see how we end up after the end of this weekend, and we'll talk about it next week.
I mean, it's tough to pick 9 people and 3 teams. Like, obviously, we could have gone through this draft and drafted literally everybody. Who's on a team and not on a team, and been happy with our teams. But yeah, it's gonna be embarrassing when Kai and Huey top 8 this Pro Tour, and then they're not on anybody's team, and it's just like, well, we're stupid. But yeah, it's
we got to keep moving because Aaron needs her topic for Going Infinite. Now, Going
to be fair,
Infinite,
it's an awesome topic.
It is a terrific topic. So, Aaron, you're now a part of the Mana Drain sort of community, which is a community built around eternal players, whether it's Legacy or Vintage. And they talk about issues that are involving that community. So tell us a little bit about this thread that you wanted to bring up as a thought experiment.
Sure. So I had the fortune to play in the Power 9 Challenge, my first ever major Vintage event, which I was so thrilled to be a part of. And the young man who built my deck is named Adam Pierce, also known as King Neckbeard on Magic Online. He played in the event with me. We were both playing Dredge, and he finished 4-2, I believe, which isn't bad. But he was a little down because one of the games that he lost was to Mr. Rich Shea, who we all know and love, Atog Lord, Vintage Guru. And Rich happened to have a group of people hanging out with him in his place while he was streaming. And Adam kind of was okay with it at the time, but the more he thought about it, he felt that giving advice on Twitch, receiving advice on Twitch, and having these teams via Skype is sort of the wrong thing to do. And he laid out this concept and this thing that if you were at a paper Magic tournament, this would not even remotely be allowed. Like, you could not have anybody sitting across from you, sitting next to you, advising you in any way, shape, or form. So why is this allowed on Magic Online? Why are we allowed to receive outside assistance and have that be okay? And he felt that he might have taken his loss a little better if he knew that he just lost to a person instead of a team full of people, essentially. And I'll admit the post started out a little salty, but it did lead to some really good discussion as to how you would enforce such a thing, even if you wanted to. If you would maybe do like a gentleman's agreement, but even if it couldn't be enforced, you would just agree to not do it. Sort of like we agree to not ghost. It's not something really we can't do, but we want to be good people, and so we don't do it. And whether or not streaming by its very nature lends to outside assistance, anybody that has viewers, you may have people in your chat reminding you of a card that you missed or a line that you don't see. And, very rarely are you ever playing 100% by yourself if you're streaming. And I just thought this was a really great topic. I thought it was something we've never touched on before. And what do you guys think of this? Like, is this okay?
Ruben?
There's a lot of layers to this issue. I think that the short answer for me is that this is a good goal to state, that no one should have people helping them. It should be a one-on-one game of Magic. But it's very difficult to enforce, almost impossible to enforce. And so the longer answer is going to be, this is a nice idea, but the fact that Magic Online is such a different animal from paper, in more ways than just the fact that you can have a whole group surrounding you, means that enforce or trying to enforce this rule is going to be laughable. Putting this rule into place would be a nice gesture, but in the end, do nothing. Because no one's obligated to actually follow the rule. If they want to have people watching, then they just don't stream. They just have people sitting there and not providing entertainment if they otherwise would stream. And so that's one thing that would be a problem here. Additionally, there's so many other things that go into Magic Online. Like, if I'm playing against Original Estrus, I can Google your name and find the 7 most recent decks that you've played, and then find my opening hand accordingly. There's so many different things that you can do on Magic Online. It's just such a different game from live Magic that it's just, I don't think it can be done, is my issue with it. It's an enviable goal, and of course you can say, gentleman's agreement style, you shouldn't do this, but it's.
Well, you can
I don't think
gentleman's
that it's
agreement all day until prizes are involved.
Exactly.
When there's value that is going to exchange hands, and you give people the opportunity to take advantages in that, they're probably going to take it. Now, look, at the end of the day, there's really no easy fix for this, because if there was, we wouldn't be talking about it.
Right.
The issue is sort of how much of the integrity of the event can or cannot be damaged as a result of someone watching the entire thing. I would note that basically it doesn't do any favors for the event or the integrity of the event. I mean, it doesn't. When Rich Shea is getting like things yelled at him from behind, or people talking in chat, or whatever it is. Now, one of the ways to think about it, and I saw this from the chat, which is the streamer is probably way better at the game anyway than their average, follower, person in chat, guy behind them, whatever. Ultimately, that person makes the final decision. There's lines, there's options, there's things they can do. They make the final decision. But unfortunately, we do have almost literally an entirely separate way to play the game, because at a very high level. Because if you're at a very high level on Magic Online, you and your buddies can hang out and play the mocks together. Talk about lines, talk about plays, what we should do, what are they doing, what's their deck, whatever. And I absolutely know that has happened many, 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 many times. Yeah. It has. In Grand Prix, there ain't nobody there next to you talking about their lines and your plays and what they could do and what you should be doing and whatever. Like, that's just crazy pants. Nor is there the ability for your opponent to be like, oh, let's see what they're looking at and what they're doing, and jump into your field of view. So it's kind of two worlds, and I think it's going to probably matter a little bit more as we get into Magic Digital next, and more people are streaming, and it's a more interesting thing to watch and have fun with. But as a thought experiment, it's really interesting. But it's a thought experiment because there's really no, I think, good answers. There's no way to police it. There's no way to really enforce it. And there's an easy way for good people to get ran over with any attempts to do so. Yeah. So that's kind of where I feel we're at.
Yeah, it's on the one hand, whenever I hear, oh, well, we shouldn't make a law because it's unenforceable, I kind of cringe at that. But in this case, it's like so negligible, and also in this specific case, I highly doubt Rich Shea really needed a ton of help. But yeah, you're right. I mean, most of the streamers themselves are smarter or have more experience, but knowledge is a cumulative process. If I have 10 knowledge and Aaron has 2 knowledge, it doesn't cancel it out. We now have 12 knowledge.
Well, we had even received complaints when we were doing things like the Community Super League, because, when the girls and I, it was the 4 of us, and 1 of us would pilot and 3 of us would be giving advice. And when that's a tongue twister. When Loading Ready Run would play, you'd have Graham and a couple of the guys, and that was something that came up of, well, you've got poor Wedge who's facing off against 4 people. How is that fair? And so this is something I've experienced before in my past, where people have said, this is really cute and all, but that's not really fair for your opponent because it's basically 4-on-1. And so I've heard this before, but never taken this seriously. And so I just wondered, what you thought about it. If you feel worse when you lose to a group, or, if you think that this is something that should be fixed. I just thought it was a good topic.
I can definitely empathize with the idea that you're playing in a tournament for prizes that you gave up value in terms of money or tickets or product or play points or whatever it was, and you later learn that a host of people beat you, not just the one person, which you are, which you're stuck in front of your computer. No. They had all of their buddies who may or may not be better at Magic than you are, all of their chat who may or may not be better at Magic you are. You're probably better than they are, but it's okay. But either way, It's super interesting. Feel free to leave your ideas in the comments and the feedback to figure out what you guys think about it. But we got to turn the corner.
Or in the Reddit, in the official Magic the Gathering Magic Mike's Reddit that we don't really use.
I thought you were supposed to be the Reddit master.
I am there. That's why I'm advertising it presently on our stream.
Right now.
Team Reddit Quest is what my my next project is to get people to use the Reddit.
But we got to turn that corner to the finisher. Now look, on Tuesday morning, a Carson City man was arrested for suspicion of domestic battery after fighting with his brother in a dispute over rules to a game of Magic they were playing. Of course.
Same brother.
Of course. Yeah. I've literally seen people stabbed. I kid you not. The deputies met with, I know it was the greatest, the best part, the guy was like, come on, stab me. And he stabbed him. Anyway, I swear to God.
Fantastic.
It's amazing.
Guy.
And he would, best interaction ever with a doctor. Anyway, the deputies met with the victim outside the apartment, and he said that he and his brother were playing the trading card game Magic and got into a fight regarding the game's rules. Now, I'm reading this a little bit from the news article, which is why it sounds the way it does. The victim's brother said that his 31-year-old brother punched him in the back of the head while they were arguing, which triggered the fight. Of course it did. The deputy did not see any physical injuries on the victim, who stated that while he was waiting for the deputies to arrive, he grabbed a sword for his protection. He's been waiting his whole life to do that.
If you own a sword, you've been waiting your whole life to use it. Yeah.
Whole life. And when I said before in the pre-show, I really hope it was a replica of Zelda, of Link's Master Sword. It'd be the best thing ever. Absolute best. Regardless. Okay. Now look. I know that we're rules lawyers, but being a rules samurai is a whole nother level. So if your opponent challenged your honor via rules violation, how would you respond, Aaron?
Well, if I saw a copy of Drain Life in my opponent's lap, I would drain life from his lap. And by that I mean I would forcibly squander his resources. And by that I mean I'd cut off his penis.
Oh, this got so weird so fast. Ruben?
Yes, hi. Oh, yes, I have a joke to tell. Well, if I had cast Esper Charm and my opponent asked who I was targeting with it, I'd inform him that I was not declaring targets, and then I would drop the mic to the Escalade.
Woo! Wow. Well, look. I was literally standing next to one Mr. Patrick Chapin during the infamous I choose all legal targets moment with Profane Command when he had a Chameleon Colossus out. But if you tried that one on me, I'd be like, cash me outside. How about that?
How about that?
How about that? Cash me outside. You want to cash me? Let's cash me outside. That's where I'm at. Cash me outside.
Dad. Sorry. I've seen too many EDM remixes of that Dr. Phil clip.
So, that ends another episode of Magic Mike's. Ruben.
That ends another episode.
That ends. You cash me outside, that end.
That end. How
Ruben,
about that?
Thank you very much for hanging out with us, buddy.
Thank you.
Aaron, thanks for hanging out.
Always a pleasure.
And for being here. And for you guys for watching or listening. That ends another episode. We want to thank you guys joining us here live to discuss all things Magic. I want to thank my co-hosts, you guys, for watching. I hope you support us at patreon.com/magicmics. Visit our website at magicmikespodcast.com. That exists thanks to our Patreon supporters. Or follow, like, tweet, favorite, subscribe, share, do all the things social that tells people that we exist. Catch us online at twitch.tv/magicmics, on Twitter at magicmikescast, on Reddit at reddit.com/r/magicmikes. Excuse me.
Catch us online. How about that? Sorry.
And on Facebook at facebook.com/magicmics. Talk to us privately at magicmikespodcast@gmail.com. Follow the audio-only podcast at magicmikespodcast.libsyn.com, or find us on iTunes, or join us here next week on Thursday. Not quite same time, not quite same place.
Well, same time, different day, same place.
There you go. For another episode of Magic Mikes. Good night, everybody.